and welcome into another episode of Dan D'Antoni Sports. My name is Dan Snyder, joined tonight by the two gentlemen with the greatest name in the history of names. That would be Dan O'Shea and Dan Beebe, subsequently known as the Three Dan Band. Gentlemen, what's up?
Oh, living the dream. Living the dream.
All right. Dan Beebe, how are you?
Good.
That's good to hear. So guys, we have an action-packed show. We're going to talk for a few minutes about the NBA and the absolute craziness that happened last night. But the main focus of the show is going to be the NFC West, who they drafted, what we think were their strong points, their weak drafts, and give our grades like we have been for the last few episodes. But, guys, that NBA game last night. Well, before we get there, I really hate the Hawks. I hate Trae Young. He's a punk scumbag. That's all I'm going to say about him. Disappointed that the Jazz didn't beat the Clippers. I really like the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell is probably one of my 5 favorite players right now. I think he is just so incredibly special and doesn't get what he needs to actually be able to elevate a team to the NBA Finals or to win a championship. I mean, we saw Rudy Gobert look like he didn't even know how to play defense in the last couple games. So, I don't know. But last night's game...
even when they didn't have Kawhi, the Clippers...
Terrence Mann. He lit him up for almost 40 points.
Yep.
But anyways, I want to focus really on what happened last night. When I asked you guys earlier, you guys said that you didn't watch the game, but you caught highlights. So I'm just going to fast forward all the way to 30 seconds left in the game. And it's, the Clippers are on a big comeback. And they bring it to within 2. Eventually they take the lead because it seems like when he's not at the free throw line in clutch times these playoffs, Paul George has been Paul God. But so they take the lead. The Jazz get the ball, and then it gets knocked out of bounds. And this is one of the big issues I have with the refs. So I don't remember who it was, swatted the ball out of Devin Booker's hand. Now, it did that normal thing where the swat careened off of, rolled off of Devin Booker's hands out of bounds. 100 out of 100 times during the regular season, that's being called out of bounds on the player who swatted the ball. Correct? Even if it's still touching the fingers of the person who was dribbling. And they decide to call it Clippers ball on a call that would never get called any other time ever. So referees, like I say, a lot are quite a big issue for a lot of games, and this is no different. So that took a lot away from the game, in my opinion. But then also calling a terrible foul on Devin Booker and basically reviewing it to see if it was a flagrant foul when Pat Beverly did one of the best selling jobs of the decade on that foul, despite the fact that he cocked his head back and headbutted Devin Booker and basically broke his nose, it looked like. And nothing got called. But you're going to call these ticky-tacky, arm to the clavicle, like barely pushed off kind of bullshit. And then the next issue I have with the refs is a small one, and we'll talk about that right now. So, very end, under a second left in the game, the Clippers are up by 1. the Suns are inbounding the ball from this weird angle on the baseline behind the basket. And they lob it up, and DeAndre Ayton is at the basket. Basically cups his hand, it looks like, and the ball rolls off his hand and in, and he's pushing down to guarantee it goes in the basket. Now, a lot of people are wondering why it's not goaltending. So, in order for it to be goaltending, it has to have been a shot. It's just a pass at that point. No shot was taken, especially because it came from out of bounds.
You can't shoot on an inbound anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. So, 0.9 of a second, and then they review it to make sure it was a legal play. It was. But then the refs take 0.2 of a second off the clock. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know I'm not wrong because I did look at this. Even if there's a tip-in, at least 0.3 of a second needs to come off the clock. So it should have been 0.6 of a second and not 7. So, do the refs even know the rules of the game that they're refereeing? Or, like, what's going on? I know that's ticky-tacky, it's 0.1 of a second, yada, 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 but still, it doesn't feel like they know the rule of the game that they're enforcing the rules of. Anyways, DeAndre Ayton gets the ball in, 0.7 of a second left. The Clippers obviously can't do anything with it because they have to go full court. Game over. Suns win on one of the craziest finishes that I've seen in a long time. You guys saw the highlights, correct?
A little bit, yep.
Have you seen anything like that? I mean, obviously Dan O'Shea, that made me think of the David Lee tip-in.
Right.
But I feel like that's one of the most incredible plays that I've ever seen drawn up with under a second to go in a game, let alone a playoff game. So, am I overhyping it, or is it that impressive, that great?
I mean, it's certainly one that I wish I had time to watch. It looked like it was a really crazy game, really crazy comeback that then got snuffed. You're absolutely right, though, that the refs have been pretty bad consistently. I just don't really. I don't know how to fix it. You know, obviously, reviews are important to make sure that they get the right play, but, you know, from what I've heard, they took, 15 minutes at least in the final two.
It was 15 minutes in the final 50 seconds.
It was the last 90 seconds of the game took 33 real-time minutes.
Yeah.
So that's stupid. That is so stupid. Just get, don't have these refs make the call. They get the call from on high. Why are the Indian refs making this call, wasting a bunch of time? They have to go over to the computer. They have to, use their limited technical skills because, let's face it, most of them are older and not technically literate. And, they're telling people what reviews to play and stuff. Why is this not from, the studio in New York or wherever? Why isn't there, a head ref in that studio that can, as soon as there's something that's even, questionable, he can pull it up on every angle on 18 TVs around him, and he can, make the call while these refs are still traveling over to the sideline.
Right. Now, a little bit of defense. There were at least, I'd say, 8 to 10 minutes that were part of the game. So fouls, free throws, both teams took 2 timeouts each. So there's about 10 minutes there that was gameplay stoppage for legit reasons. But you're right. That still leaves 20-some minutes of garbage. Literally, having to review every 15 seconds. to make sure something, wasn't a foul or was a foul, or who's it going out of bounds off of. And it's just, I believe it was J.J. Watt, because I didn't think that we'd be talking, this in depth about it. I think it was J.J. Watt who tweeted and said that the refs are making basketball just completely unwatchable.
Yeah, it's slower than football at this point. And not only are they slow, they're they still refuse to turn over a call that they've made because of their pride. When it's obvious that they should overturn a call, they just don't. And they still take a year to do that. You can be slow sometimes, you can be wrong sometimes. You cannot be both all the goddamn time. It's ridiculous. It needs to be fixed. It's making the sport unwatchable. NBA really, really needs to address this.
The other big note from this game, and then I want to move on to what we are here to talk about. The reason it was this close, or not this close, the reason that this tip-in dunk alley-oop, he wants to call it the valley-oop, which I think is funny, is because just before this play, Paul George missed both of his free throws, which kept it a 1-point game. Paul George missing free throws. I felt like I was watching Derrick Rose at Memphis screw me out of thousands of dollars.
He was, obviously he got made fun of a lot for being the opposite of clutch last year. He's definitely been better this year.
He's had to be.
But one interesting thing is that every series so far for the Clippers they've been down 2 games to nothing, and then they win the next 4. So Suns better be careful. Luckily, they got Chris Paul coming back for Game 3. But
I'm just gonna put this out there, and you can disagree with me if you want or agree. DeAndre Ayton, best center in the game. He's the best. Offensively, defensively, he's the best center in the game.
He's up there. He's very good. He's very large.
He is, but athletic large. And he's got a sweet.
He's really not a fat guy. He's just a big man, and he can get the ball at a high point and dunk it pretty easily. Very, very good on defense, and he's fun to watch.
He's got a sweet touch. I felt real bad for him and Alonzo Trier coming out of Arizona because Sean Miller fucked them. He really fucked them over, threw them under the bus because they were the leaders of the team that he was coaching, and really made his shitty mistakes about the team and not him. And I just feel real bad for the stigma that DeAndre Ayton got.